Dear learners, welcome to this learning dialogue video on learning taxonomies. Before we go ahead with today's topic, please attempt this quiz. A pop-up should appear on your screen to take you to the pre-test quiz on learning taxonomies. Please pause the video and resume after you have submitted your answers. We will start with learning taxonomies, followed by need of learning taxonomies and introduction to different domains of learning. Though there are several taxonomies reported for each of the domains in the literature, like Solo taxonomy for cognitive domain, Peirce-Gray taxonomy for affective domain and psychomotor domain, Fink's taxonomy for cognitive domain and affective domain, etc. This learning dialogue video will focus on Karthwohl's affective domain taxonomy, Dave's psychomotor domain taxonomy, and Bloom's cognitive domain taxonomy. By the end of this learning dialogue video, learners will be able to describe the three main domains of learning, list the important taxonomies of learning, identify and describe subdomains of learning taxonomies, identify appropriate action verbs for writing measurable learning outcomes. Today's educators struggle with problems associated with the design and implementation of programs, standards-based curriculum, and authentic assessments. In other words, teachers need an organizing framework, a framework that promotes understanding by aligning educational activities which include setting learning outcomes for students, assessing students, and instruction delivery mechanisms. Learning outcomes provide the required framework to create and classify these educational activities and check for alignment between them. Evolution. As shown in this diagram, the evolution of learning taxonomies happened in three domains, and time to time contributions from numerous researchers enhanced the learnings. All this began with the efforts of educational psychologist, international activist and educational consultant Dr. Benjamin Samuel Bloom and his team of experts. The team started working on the development of taxonomy of learning in the early 1950s with an aim of developing a taxonomy framework that would facilitate sharing of assignments, sharing of assessment items across schools. In 1956, the group produced Taxonomy of Educational Objective Handbook 1, The Cognitive Domain. This book became quite popular and was referred to as the Handbook. Bloom and others in 1956 identified three domains of educational activities and learning. Cognitive domain, which deals with acquiring knowledge and mental skills. Psychomotor domain, which deals with manual or physical skills. Affective domain, which deals with feelings or emotions that influence one's attitude. Later, the group came up with a second handbook for the taxonomy in 1964, which focused on affective domain. In 1957, Bloom traveled to India to conduct workshops on evaluation, which led to great changes in Indian education system. In 2001, Anderson and Karthwohl modified Bloom's taxonomy to make it relevant to the present day requirements. It maps cognitive processes with 4 levels of knowledge. Karthwohl's another significant contribution was in the affective domain. Dave contributed significantly in developing psychomotor domain's taxonomy. Their works were published in 1964 and 1970 respectively. Learning taxonomies or classifications are commonly utilized as a way of describing different kinds of learning, behaviors, and characteristics that we wish our students to develop. They are often used to identify different stages of learning development and thus provide a useful tool in distinguishing the appropriateness of particular learning outcome. A taxonomy is a special kind of framework where categories lie along a continuum. The lower level is to be learned before learning the next higher level. Achievements at higher level implies achievement at all lower levels. Taxonomy is important as they describe different levels of learning taking place in different domains. Need for learning taxonomies. As I said earlier, learning taxonomies provide an important framework for designing curriculum, selecting appropriate teaching methodologies, designing appropriate examination questions. In your opinion, which is the most important domain of the three? A pop-up should appear on your screen to take you to the reflection spot question where you may register your answer. Pause the video and resume after you have submitted your answer. According to Bloom, any given task tends to be generally dominant in one of the three psychological domains: cognitive, affective, or psychomotor. The cognitive domain is concerned with learning at mental plane and deals with the person's ability to process and utilize information in a meaningful way. The affective domain relates to attitudes and feelings that result from or influence the learning process. The psychomotor domain involves manipulative physical skills. Any given task tends to be dominant in one of the three domains. This does not mean that it is exclusively belonging to one domain, but it is dominant in one domain only. This classification is for focus and convenience only. All the three dimensions are involved to varying degrees in all the intended learning experiences and activities. Affective domain. The affective domain is associated with feelings and emotions that result from or influence the learning process. Majority of the program outcomes (POs) from 7 to 12 defined by NBA belong to affective domain. They require addressing issues like working in groups, communicating, understanding the impact of engineering on environment. Learning is not just an intellectual or mental function. Learning involves feelings as well. How are these affective behaviors demonstrated? By simply indicating attitudes of awareness, interest, attention, and concern. As mentioned earlier, there are numerous studies pertaining to each domain which has resulted in different taxonomies. As an example, Pierce-Gray's affective domain taxonomy has 6 levels. On the other hand, Karthwohl's taxonomy classifies learning in 5 levels. These are receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, and characterizing. Receiving being at the lowest level and characterizing at the highest level. As per definition, receiving signifies willingness to receive information. Action verbs associated with this level are ask, choose, identify. Responding level signifies active participation, indicating positive response of an idea. The action verbs associated with this level are answer, assist, greet, recite, and write. Valuing level signifies expressing a belief about the worth of something. Action verbs associated with this level are complete, differentiate, form, justify. Organizing level signifies organizing various values into an internalized system. Action verbs associated with this level are adhere, arrange, combine, defend, identify. The highest level, characterizing, signifies the value system that becomes way of life. The action verbs associated with this level are act, display, influence, propose, etc. The next in line is the psychomotor domain. Psychomotor objectives are those specific to discrete physical functions, reflex actions, and interpretative movements. Psychomotor domain is concerned with the physically encoding of information with movement and or with activities, where the gross and fine muscles are used for expressing or interpreting information or concepts. This area also refers to natural, autonomic, or reflexes. The psychomotor domain is comprised of utilizing motor skills and coordinating them. The role of psychomotor activities is limited in engineering programs as offered as present. Significant contributions in this domain came in the form of Peirce and Gray's taxonomy and Dave's psychomotor domain taxonomy. Dave's psychomotor domain taxonomy has 5 levels: imitation, manipulation, precision, articulation, and naturalization, with imitation being at the lowest level and naturalization being at highest level. The action verbs associated with these levels are as follows. At imitation level, copy, repeat, observe, imitate. At manipulation level, build, assemble, mix, rough sketch. At precision level, calibrate, knit. At articulation level, construct, coordinate. At naturalization level, drive, assemble, and control. The last and most talked about domain is the cognitive domain. Cognitive domain is concerned with learning at mental plane and deals with the person's ability to process and utilize information in a meaningful way. The original Bloom's taxonomy was one-dimensional and categorized from simple knowledge level to complex evaluation level, but involved cumulative hierarchy. Lauren Anderson, a former student of Bloom, and David Karthwohl revisited the cognitive domain in the mid-90s and made some changes. The three most prominent ones were changing the name of the taxonomy level from noun to verb, rearranging them as shown in figure, and creating a cognitive process and knowledge dimension taxonomy table. Following are the definitions of the cognitive process dimensions as defined in Bloom's taxonomy. Remember, exhibit memory of previously learned material by recalling facts, terms, basic concepts, and answers. Understand, demonstrate understanding of facts and ideas by organizing, comparing, translating, interpreting, giving descriptions, and stating main ideas. Apply. Solve problems to new situations by applying acquired knowledge, facts, techniques, and rules in a different way. Analyze. Examine or break information into parts by identifying motives or causes. Make inferences and find evidence to support generalization. Evaluate. Present and defend opinions by making judgments about information, validity of ideas, or quality of work based on a set of criteria. Create. Compile information together in a different way by combining elements in a new pattern or proposing alternative solutions. Action verbs associated with these levels are as follows. Under remember, choose, define, how, list, etc. Under understanding, classify, compare, contrast, explain, etc. Under applying, action verbs may be apply, build, choose, construct, develop. Under analyze category, assume, categorize, classify, etc. Under evaluate category, action verbs may be agree, appraise, criticize, evaluate, explain. Under create category, action verbs may be adapt, construct, delete, develop, discuss, etc. As mentioned earlier, revised Bloom's taxonomy from Karthwohl and Anderson combines the cognitive process with levels of knowledge to form a matrix as shown here, also referred to as taxonomy table. The cognitive process dimensions, that is the columns of the table, contain the 6 categories, and the knowledge dimension, that is the rows of the table, contains 4 categories: factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. Categories are assumed to lie along a continuum from concrete, that is factual, to abstract, metacognitive. The conceptual and procedural categories overlap in terms of abstractness, with some procedural knowledge being more concrete than the most abstract concept knowledge. With further enhancements by Clark and Mayer in 2007, two more knowledge categories were added. A typical example of taxonomy table with action verbs will look something like this, wherein factual knowledge signifies the basic elements students must know to be acquainted with a discipline or solve problems in it. Conceptual knowledge signifies the interrelationship among the basic elements within a large structure that enables them to function together. Process knowledge signifies flow of activities that describe how things work rather than how to do things. Procedural knowledge signifies how to do something, methods of inquiry, and criteria for using skills, algorithms, techniques, and methods. A series of step-by-step actions and decisions that result in achieving of a task. Principles knowledge signifies the guidelines and rules of a particular domain. They help in making predictions and draw implications. Metacognitive knowledge is the knowledge of cognition in general as well as awareness and knowledge of one's own cognition. In the coming sessions, we will explore the use of taxonomy table to align learning outcomes, assessment, and instruction delivery mechanisms. These were some of the references used for creating content presented in this video. You may explore these as per your convenience. Sincere thanks to all the learners for devoting your valuable time. Hope you enjoyed learning new things going through this learning dialogue video on learning taxonomies. Thank you.